It's going. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a beautiful day in the city of Indio, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Today is, of all days, April 1st. So the meeting's canceled. No. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller? Present. Councilmember Huitron? Present. Councilmember Ortiz?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Furman?
Present.
And Mayor Holmes?
Present. Thank you very much. Everybody would please stand for the invocation. Pastor Tony Williams, Love of Christ Community Church.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we just come before you this evening, Lord, just thanking you, Lord, that you've given us life, you've given us health, you've given us strength. You've given us a wonderful city governed by great people who steward well. Lord, I ask for your continued wisdom, for your continued presence, for your continued help to guide us in proper ways. Father God, let everybody have a seat, even though they might not be here, but there's hearts and minds that are big enough. There's reaches and understanding that's big enough. From the least of those, Lord, who struggle to the best of those who live well, let us all be represented here today. And Lord, we understand that we steward. We own nothing, but you've given us the opportunity to manage. So let us do it with the right heart, with the right spirit, with the right intentions, and absolutely with the right results. Once again, we thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And now the flag salute. I'd like to invite Alejandro Gomez Lavariega from Dr. Carrion Academy. Let me read a little bit about you. Alejandro is a fifth grade student at Dr. Carrion Academy who excels both academically and athletically. He participates in Math Field Day, Fuel Up to Play 60, Mileage Club, and Esports Club, and competes in basketball, soccer, track, and field. My goodness, one busy person. Outside of school, do you drive? Outside of school, he enjoys spending time with his grandfather, helping cultivate medjool dates on their family farm, how wonderful, and caring for their animals. Go ahead.
Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the
flag one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Don't go away. Okay, let's see what we have. City Attorney report on closed session.
Here, there's no reportable action out of today's closed session.
Okay, presentations. First one, 5.1 certificate to the Shadow Hills North Golf Course. Please, everybody come on up, and Team Indio, let's go down and give them this wonderful praise and accolades.
Represent the ownership, but it's not the ownership. Our general manager, and I'd like him to introduce the team that takes care of the North Course, if you've got a minute.
Absolutely. Put you on the spot, yeah.
All right. Thank you, obviously, for having us here. Brought a couple of members of our team. Our superintendent that manages the North Course for us, so all of the landscaping, everything that looks like on a daily basis. This is Araceli Castro. She's actually due today, but she came in just for this, so she's holding it off for a day. Todd Olson, who is the main man at the front desk, he checks everybody in, gets everybody through their rounds. So he kind of runs everything for us on North Course from there. And then Amber Pennington, who additionally was our Employee of the Month this month at Shadow Hills, runs our bistro and all the operations for food and beverage over there. So, and then, can I introduce Barbara?
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah.
President of our board, this is Barbara Preslock. She's shame. She doesn't want to stand up and wave to everybody, Barbara. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one of our prominent members over there who really has helped spearhead a lot of this for us is Georgiana Mims, who doesn't want to be mentioned either. So thought I'd throw her in there. But
Fantastic. So nice.
thank you all for having us.
Absolutely. Did you want to say? Or?
No, we've got some.
Okay. Oh, well, this is awesome. Fantastic. Check this out. Shadow Hills Golf Course, Indio, California. Nice. Nice, nice, nice.
Is everybody?
Right. So,
Cool.
all right. And would you like to say something? No. I thought my voice was loud enough. This certificate is proudly presented in recognition of outstanding excellence and achievement of being ranked 4th in the nation. I mean, that is incredible and cool and awesome at every level. This year from over 800 par 3 courses in the country. That's just fantastic. That's amazing. Congratulations on this remarkable accomplishment. Congratulations over and over. All right, we got to do picture. All right, you guys, come on, you guys. I'm gonna figure out how we. Very, very. Okay, huh? Okay, everyone, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 5.2, presentation by Leadership Coachella Valley. I see the team. Come on up.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Ryland Penta, and I'm honored to be first professionally an employee of the City of Palm Desert, but most importantly, in my opinion, a board member for Leadership Coachella Valley alongside Matt McElroy. Today, we also have Lindsay Kinkle, who is one of the current program participants, who is going to talk about the class project shortly after our presentation. This Leadership Coachella Valley is turning 25 years old this year, and we've now done an informational update to the council, and we just wanted to provide some context of what's happened in those 25 years, how we've grown, how we've shaped what we think is a great part of the networking and leadership capacity of our region. And I'd like to think that we punch a little above our weight in demonstrating how to grow and build a bigger, better Coachella Valley. So, while we're waiting on the slide, I'll just let you introduce yourself. You probably know Matt already.
Matt McElroy, a board member and small business owner, local small business owner.
Lindsay Kinkle, class of 2026, Leadership Coachella Valley, and I'm a local realtor and writer.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Well, we'll just get started on a few notes and then we'll power through the slides. Leadership Coachella Valley, I know several of you have participated in it. Some of you have been to our events. It is a program that brings together about 40 to 45 participants every single year. We do sessions across the valley in all 9 cities and unincorporated areas. We do different sessions on unique topics, which are listed here. They include art and culture, sustainability, media, education, economic drivers, government and justice, philanthropy, healthcare and wellness, history of the valley, and housing and food challenges. And what we try to do is give a breadth of information across the region because we have 45 people that are from all walks of life and all fields professionally. And so it gives a great sense of where they can contribute, how they can help shape and grow this valley together. The way this really helps develop the valley is it builds place-based leadership. Individuals will get to know how their skill sets can contribute to a larger image, a larger impression in the valley. It builds that regional awareness. We have individuals that get out of maybe their local community and go to Mecca, go to near Banning and Beaumont. It really shares kind of the uniqueness of our entire community. It creates lasting networks. I know some of my personal and professional friends came from Leadership Coachella Valley, and now, of course, as a board member, that's even gotten bigger. It drives economic development. We do what we call connect and reflect after every session, and we'll pick a local business to host that in. And so that helps drive new individuals into these coffee shops, food establishments, and bars as well. And it also encourages volunteerism. Lindsay will talk about the current class project, but over the years, every class has contributed to some lasting impression of their group. So that has helped give kind of a better sense to how volunteerism really affects our region. And I'll pass it off to Matt.
Yeah, I'll give you just a quick update on some of the numbers. So over the last 25 years, we've had over 940 participants go through and graduate the program. 150 plus of those individuals came from local public agencies, over 90 of them from the different school districts here in the Valley, and over 200 individuals from local nonprofits. Some ways that LCV strengthens the community here in the city of Indio is just by creating more informed residents, a stronger regional collaboration, increased civic trust and participation, and a deeper bench of community leadership. And we just here today to just ask for everybody to continue to stay engaged. And should the council or anybody here have anybody that they feel would benefit going through the program, we would love to have you refer them to us. Application opens in May for the next year. Yeah, we'll turn it over to Lindsay to tell you a little bit about what they're doing for their class project.
So every year, the leadership class is tasked with a class project, and my class elected to fundraise for ABC Recovery Center, which is right down the street in Indio. The Recovery Center received a grant for about $30 million to build 7 new buildings, 44,000 square feet of space, and 120 new residential beds. But the grant only covers the buildings themselves, nothing inside. And so we're fundraising to help furnish the beds. We're doing a courtyard with trees, a welcome center, and then a memorial honor board in the welcome center. So we are really excited and really passionate about this. And we're hosting an event on April 30th, and it's at ABC Recovery Center. And everyone is welcome to attend. Ticket information is on the ABC Recovery Center website. And people who come will be given tours of the new facility. So you get really a hands-on feel for what they're doing over there. And it's amazing work. Recovery centers are not all built alike, and they are truly in a league of their own. So come out, get a tour. We have silent auction, music, refreshments, and it's going to be a really special evening.
And that's April 30th.
April 30th from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. And it's an ambitious goal. We are trying to raise $37,500. So
How close are you? How much have you raised so far?
about 5,000. So we still have a way to go, but we're confident we can get there.
Great, fantastic, yes. Any questions, anyone?
I'd like to say.
Please.
Good.
Yeah.
First off, thank you for coming. A member of the class of 2016, the best class ever.
2008.
It's an inside joke. We say that every time. So I'm glad the other 24 classes are right behind us. But thank you for what you do. It is an amazing organization and a great way to network. Some of my best friends come from Leadership Coachella Valley. We have the distinguished. I was the first class speaker to ever give my time away. So it was Assemblyman Chef Gonzalez and Sean Webb from Read With Me and myself. We all split the time equally because we came with all one vote of each other. So I just said, it was Linda from Palm Desert Area Chamber of Commerce. She says, you can't do that. I said, I'm a class speaker. I can do whatever I want. So we divided up 3 ways, and it was talking. But it is an amazing organization. Thank you for what you're doing. I happen to be on the ABC board, so we do appreciate what you're doing for it. Chris told me that you guys are working towards that goal, and we thank you. And the causes that you guys continue to do for this valley, even the alumni, is amazing. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, definitely. And it spans, I mean, it's just, so I was a little bit 2008, so I know that was a long time ago, but huge impact. And as you watch everyone, as we go through and experience the Greater Coachella Valley, it's eye-opening, and it's really wonderful, and it really gives you sort of a sense of the valley, where the needs are, and how we can be successful in moving forward. So thank you. It is awesome. Any other? No? Go right ahead.
Here you go. Excuse me. My compliments to your achievements and your accomplishments. I remember when it first rolled out, and it's obviously developed really well. Has you and your predecessors ever thought of doing a modified version for high school kids in the Valley, like a one-day camp? And the reason I'm saying that is our youth of our community understand certain things as they're developing opportunities or maybe their careers or their education. I think a lot of our high school kids who are very in tune, and we have a group here, that would benefit from a one-day camp. And I think you should look at it because it would inspire them. Our internships and like our youth advisory councils, the school district Desert Sands also has a body that represents a representative from each one of their high schools. I think that those leadership skills may benefit from getting pieces of what you do to inspire them and getting involved. Something to think about. And I think it would be a great opportunity because of what success you've had with the other part of our population.
Councilmember Ortiz?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for all the education you're bringing to leaders throughout the Coachella Valley. And I think the more that people know about the Coachella Valley and what's going on out there, the more they can help, right, and fill in the gaps where they see the need, such as what your class is doing at the ABC Recovery Center. And we're really excited about that as well. You know, it's much needed services that are going to be coming to our community out here, and that help is going to be great. So thank you so much for what you do in educating our leaders and also in helping out at the ABC Recovery Center. Thank you so much.
I'd like to echo all the sentiments, especially Councilmember Gutron. You know, back when we had a program called Campus Connection, and it was kind of the same thing, but what it did, it established these networks, and some of us are still friends and colleagues now. So I would love to see leadership do that. But aside from that, I love what you guys are doing, and it also speaks to the fact that being a leader in the community is not just a title. You don't have to be elected. We're all leaders in our own right. So those traits and things that you're showing folks in the Valley are invaluable. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Come back anytime. Yes, absolutely. Okay, item number 6, Youth Advisory Council. No? I'm so sorry, 5.3. How can my friends at IID? 5.3, presentation by IID on application process for solar customers. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Lauren Olivo, Manager, Energy Business and Regulatory Compliance for the district. I'm here today to walk you through IID's requirements for customer-owned solar generation. So today I'll be going over IID's online application portal, Power Clerk, as well as the interconnection process and net billing compensation program. I'll touch on some Title 24 requirements and some general statistics. So, in order to promote transparency and improve the customer experience, IID implemented its Power Clerk portal in 2024, which is an industry standard online interconnection platform. This system allows both customers and contractors to submit applications, track project statuses, and communicate directly within the portal. It ensures visibility throughout the entire process so users always know where their project stands. Power Clerk has also helped to streamline application review, and documentation management, making the process more efficient for everyone involved. The interconnection process begins with submitting an application through IID's Power Clerk portal, along with all required project documentation to ensure a timely and efficient review. This includes a one-line diagram, site plan, bill of materials, and overall system information. For systems over 10 kilowatts, IID requires a Rule 21 application. Providing complete and accurate documentation upfront is critical, as it helps prevent delays and allows IID to properly evaluate system design, safety, and compliance. During the review process, IID verifies customer information, system size, and design details, which are typically based on customers' 12-month past consumption. IID also conducts a site inspection to confirm equipment placement, safety, clearances, and identify any problems out in the field. For larger systems over 10 kW, IID performs system impacts to verify no mitigations are required to the IID grid. If upgrades to the main service panel or panel derates are required, the customer must schedule a temporary disconnect with IID. Once the project passes final inspection, an IID receives the authority having jurisdiction release, typically from the city or county. Along with the meter payment, IID schedules its meter exchange. At that point, IID installs a bidirectional meter and issues permission to operate, in which the customer is authorized to turn on their system. IID originally operated under the Net Energy Metering, or NEM program, in compliance with CUP Code 2827, which required utilities to offer NEM until a statutory cap was reached. IID met that obligation in 2016. At that point, IID transitioned to a successor program known as net billing to continue supporting customer generation while addressing cost impacts to the broader customer base. Under net billing, compensation is based on avoided costs specifically tied to the cost of utility scale solar procured by IID. At the time of the transition, the compensation rate was based on IID's lowest cost of solar procurement. Since then, the cost of utility scale solar has continued to decline due to improving technologies and federal incentives, which further supports maintaining a cost-based compensation structure. It is also important to note that higher compensation rates can create cost shifts where customers without solar effectively subsidize those with behind-the-meter generation. Simple example of how net billing works. Let's say the customer consumes 1,000 kilowatts of generation and generates 500,000 and sends it back to the IID grid. The customer is billed for that 1,000 kilowatts consumed and credited the 500 kilowatts at the compensation rate of 6.98 cents. Each system size is based on the customer's past 12-month consumption usage. So, California title building requirements require solar installation of new construction buildings. This includes single-family homes, multifamily buildings, under 3 stories, hotels, and commercial buildings. Solar systems must be sized to offset projected energy usage. Battery storage is optional, but allows for a reduction in required solar size. Here's just a breakdown of valleys. So Imperial Valley, we have about 61 megawatts of interconnected generation. All in Coachella Valley area, we have 111 megawatts with approximately 8,970 solar systems interconnected to the IID grid. And before I open it up to any questions, I would like to thank the City of Indio's staff. Your inspection staff works very well with IID staff. They go above and beyond to help our mutual customers. And if you can please thank Mr. Rubin and his staff for me, that'd be great.
Team Indio. Okay, thank you very much.
Happy to answer questions.
All right. Any comments or questions? Thank you. So go right ahead.
So thank you for your presentation. I actually requested that she come. We had her present for the Coachella Valley Power Agency. And reason being is there's a lot of misconceptions and misinformation that's out there about solar in respects to IID and the interconnection. And I wanted the public to understand the process of solar with IID, especially in our valley. And one of the questions I had, it was answered the last meeting, but I'd like you to answer it for the community, is what are some of the challenges you see in the application process which usually delays the connection with solar?
So what we see typically is solar installers not checking with ID's compliance or regulations and having to go back and change plans with the cities or the authorities having jurisdiction. Installing systems without utility approval is a big one because if you oversize your system and we decline your system size based on your consumption, then you have to go back and actually remove those panels. So, and it could just be administrative errors down to inputting an email incorrectly. So we see a vast majority of issues across the board. A big one is also contractors just install and disappear. That one is a big one that we see as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Very, very informative. Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. You just mentioned, sometimes they install systems that are too large.
Yes.
Why is that an issue for IID?
Because we allow you to install up to 100% of your 12-month past consumption.
Gotcha.
We don't allow you to oversize. Now, if you have future plans, let's say you are going to purchase an electric vehicle and you have, it on hold, we can go ahead and take those into account. But in order to not subsidize other non-solar ratepayers, we don't allow you to go more than your 100% of consumption.
Gotcha. The other question I had was for the solar required on new buildings. What percentage is needed as the requirement?
It's supposed to be 100% of the,
Oh, wow.
the square footage.
100% of the square footage.
Mm-hmm. It's a calculation we have, my staff has it down. It's a calculation based, and we can get that over to you, but based on the square footage, it tells you how big the system size is required.
Okay, and that's a state
state
number?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, great information. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Now, the Youth Advisory Council. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Holmes and council members. My name is Joaquin Ruiz, and I'll be grateful to report on the Youth Advisory Council's involvement since our last City Council meeting. Last weekend, 6 of our members attended Riverside County's Friday Night Live Active Youth Conference at Camp Pally in Running Springs. The 3-day conference was an amazing opportunity for them to meet other students and connect as a team. They attended some interesting sessions about the dangers of smoking to teenagers, as well as how to be better leaders for our community. In addition, the group created a PSA on the dangers of unhealthy relationships that we will be sharing at the end of my report. While some of us were at camp, the rest of YAC completed our monthly Avenue 46th Street cleanup. During the cleanup, we noticed that dog waste continues to be present in the area. We appreciate the ongoing maintenance efforts by the city and are glad to support with our monthly cleanups. We would like to install trash receptacles with dog waste bags as a possible option. We believe this would help support residents in maintaining this space. Any further guidance or suggestions will be greatly appreciated. To continue, we would like to extend an invitation to the council and the Indio community to our annual mental health hike on Saturday, May 2nd at the Badlands Hiking Trail. Our walk will begin at 7 a.m. This is one of YAC's favorite annual events as it gives us the opportunity to raise awareness and promote positive mental health practices as we, the youth of the community, enter a particularly stressful session of exams. That completes my report, and next up is our PSA video. There it is.
We are at the Indio Youth Advisory Council, and our video is about creating and ensuring you have a healthy relationship.
I wanted to have more fries.
Me too. Did you use some of your French fries?
Oh yeah, I did. Who are you texting? Who is that? I don't know them. Who is that? I can't believe she'll go on the zipline without me.
Nico, have
Hey,
you talked
baby.
to Jimena?
No.
I'm kind of worried about her friendship with Enrique.
Enrique.
Jimena, you want to take a picture? Oh, yeah, sure.
No.
Excuse me. Wait your turn. Enrique's just been so mean to Jimena lately, and I don't know why. And I don't know why he's being so controlling too. It's just weird.
Have you noticed that Jimena isn't paying attention to me lately? Right? Have you noticed? Have you noticed that Jimena is always hanging out with Isabella?
Enrique's being super toxic towards Jimena. I don't think they should continue their friendship. Come with us. We want to talk to you about Jimena.
We can't be friends no more. Never be afraid to end a relationship that isn't healthy for you.
Very good, yeah. That's cool. Ah, shucks, doesn't work anymore. Okay, thank you so much. Let's see, city manager reports and information.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought just in advance of the festivals coming up and the more than doubling the size of the city for 3 weekends in a row, just to thank the community for their patience and acknowledging the great work that's done by our first responders and so many other staff members that are involved in making sure that those festivals come off in a beautiful way and that Indio's represented well. So again, just thank you for the patience as we welcome a few 100,000 people into Indio over the next month. But that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Yes, festival season is here. Let the fun begin. All right, let's see, city council conflict of interest disclosure. I have a conflict of interest on item 10.8, so I will recuse myself, or at least not vote. Are there any other conflict of interest? No, okay, just me. Next item, number 9, city council report on meetings attended per government code section 53232.3D. Councilmember Glenn Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only committee that I had was active was Sunline Transit Agency. The highlights of that meeting basically were the 3-year audit. We do an audit for 3 years worth of routes and overall view of how the bus line works. And that was conducted and it passed, making sure that it met all the requirements for the state of California and the federal government for the funding that we get from them. And then also, we updated all our policies. Once a year, we go back, and because of new rules or new legislation, the policies need to be updated. So we updated all our policies. So that was it for Sunline Transit Agency. A couple of events we went to is the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission did their 55-year anniversary, and it was a gala. Mayor Pro Tem Wayman Furman is on the board. They did a great job. A lot of the council was at the organization to be able to celebrate with them. And if you haven't been to the rescue mission, they're a great partner with our police department in our city to help get people off the streets, but at the same time, actually working with these individuals to get their lives back together. And they have a graduation of over 70-some individuals that graduated from their academy, I guess what I want to call it, but it's really a life class, that they actually got themselves off the streets, got themselves into stable housing, stable jobs, and was able to turn their lives around. So that's the great work of the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission and everybody that's on their board and their staff. So my congratulations to them. And Darla Burkett, they honored her, the past executive director, for all her work that she's done. Also, I want to congratulate Raquel Harris, who is the Senior Inspirational Award winner. She did a great job. Once a year, the County of Riverside in the 4th District, V. Manuel Perez gathers all the cities in the county together, and they honor one individual senior citizen from each city and 2 from the county, and ours was Raquel, and she did a great job of helping at our senior center and all the things she did. It's amazing that a lot of these individuals that are retired come back and continue to give back to the community. And then lastly, I was at the Read With Me. They have their new office. If you don't know about Read With Me, it's an organization that gathers individuals that want to volunteer, and they read books to elementary school students, different books throughout the Coachella Valley. There's over 550 volunteers, and they read to every school in the Coachella Valley almost, except for a couple here and there that aren't able to get out to basically easily. But they go from the Salton Sea all the way to Desert Hot Springs, and for every elementary school and every class, they read to the individual kids there and give them opportunities to do books. And that's Sean Webb, who I talked about earlier, was with Leadership Coachella Valley, and his whole team are doing an amazing job. And then lastly, I'd like to, if we could, talk about a couple things. First off, I'm not excited, I don't know about all of you, about the lights from CVAG, the actual sync. We're having a lot of issues with individuals that are running red lights because they're not being able to time them because the lights are being too long in certain areas. And I know CVAG is working on this to be able to time it so that some of the larger streets, Jefferson, Fred Waring, Highway 111, the people continue to go and they've got a green light for like 5 minutes. The problem is that every street that turns into it then is backed up for 5 minutes. And I've never seen traffic coming into either the city, and I drive this whole valley, like on Fred Waring and Jefferson, where it's 20 cars deep. And they all get through mostly on the light, but people sit there and wait, and they eventually just run the light. And it's getting worse and worse. And I think it's something that we need to look at to make sure. We've had quite a few accidents lately, especially on Jefferson and 111, a couple on 48th and Indio Boulevard, where people are running lights because they're in a hurry. We need to slow down, and we need to also look at these lights because I really do believe that people are frustrated. We turned this over because CVAG wanted to have control over the lights of the whole valley. They got a grant from the federal government and state government, and I don't think people don't take a grant that they don't want. But I think we jumped in this head first, and I think we need to look at how we time these lights, what's in the best interest of our residents and our city. I'm not saying we get out of it, but they have cameras everywhere, and I just don't believe that people are happy with the way that's set up. And I think that we're going to continue to have people run lights, and people are going to get hurt unless we do something about it. So I'd like to see if Tim can work with CVAG to see what their ideas and thoughts are, and making sure that our lights work for what's in the best interest of our individuals, for our residents. And then secondly, on the second part of that, I think that we need to go ahead and time to look at what we have going on with our public safety. Our motor patrol officers are at the schools, but they're not able to look at these red lights and where people are running them to be able to get there. So we're watching the schools, which is very, very important, don't get me wrong. But by the time they get that, they're only out in the streets for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours, to be able to actually slow people down and start writing tickets to people that are running lights. Because one life is one life too many that we lose. So that's my two things I'd like to look at. And so I know when the budget comes around, we need to look at maybe some more motorcycle cops, or we need to think about having a highway patrolman who are very good at looking at traffic incidents and let them loose on Jefferson, Highway 111, Indio Boulevard, and have them patrol it for us and then write tickets to what it is. I'm not big on writing tickets, but people need to slow down so people don't get hurt.
Yeah, there needs to be some mechanism. Any other comments, especially on CV? Okay.
Well, I totally agree, and I think we could look at that and we do some surveys around the valley to see what intersections are troubling. I know we have some major ones that we really need to look at, and I also support the targeted enforcement. If someone's going to get a ticket, I'd rather have someone get a ticket than lose a life. And also, thank you to Chief for some of the traffic enforcement that we're seeing out there. And one thing, I get questions from the public, why do we announce it when we're gonna do traffic enforcement or we're gonna have some stops? We'd rather folks not get an accident or rather not drive impaired than actually write someone a ticket or arrest someone for driving impaired. And that's the goal behind putting it out there. So part of it is educational. And, behind that education, we will do some enforcement. And sometimes the enforcement is what gets people's attention. So I support that as well.
Councilmember?
And I agree with both council members, and I think the thing is that, again, I'm not going to speak for the chief, but I know the chief is trying to build that team. You have to realize that one time our team was 7 people. And because of certain changes, the growth that we had 17 years ago, we had. But things changed. We're back at 100,000 plus. The city's growing. A lot of things have developed since COVID. People aren't as patient anymore. Speed's a factor. Moving violations is a factor. And I agree with what Councilmember Pro Tem Furman said, is that there's just a point in time that we need to beef up our team. The only way to do that is to look at our budget and allow the chief to expand that team, because that team will not just be doing enforcement. It will be dedicated staff to dealing with traffic issues. By bringing another agency to assist us in the interim time, because it takes 22, 23 months before you have a full-fledged peace officer working the streets between you do that. But if they're able to increase that team, it helps us, because we're currently maintaining the day-to-day services. This is a team that deals with just with traffic. So that's one. The education, we've been doing a great job. But there's just a point in time, it's kind of like the old saying, stop slamming the door. Eventually you're on timeout because they're not listening. And if we can save one life, we've done our best. So.
Thank you very much. I have so many challenges with CV Sync. I think since that was implemented, the concept is wonderful, but it's just not functioning quite the way I think we need it in our city. And I think we might, those of us on CVAG, transportation, oh gee, that's me, need to be more vocal about that, which I will definitely do.
Do we want to invite CVAG to do some kind of presentation or something, or?
We can.
I've talked to them directly. I've been to their hub where they moved all the cameras. They took them out of where they were in Palm Desert and moved them to the corporate yard in Thousand Palms. That's Rancho Mirage's corporate yard. And you go in there, I mean, they can read what you're reading on your phone. I mean, that's how good these cameras are. But I just don't think they have the wherewithal. They're worried about bringing people down the main lanes. We can tell them what we want, but I really think we need to have it in writing what it is. Because when I talked to them, they changed a couple of the ones that people were complaining about, and then it goes right back to what it is, because they don't tell us when they're going to change times. They don't tell us if it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes. It's whoever complains about it, they work. So if like India Wells complain about the tennis garden or something, they will speed that area up, but it affects all the rest of us. So I think we could bring them in, but I think we're just going to get the same song and dance that we got before.
Well, maybe we could ask for, some kind of city approval if they're changing any lights that affect our residents.
Yeah, I just see it as, I think we're idle, and I think we're staying there longer. I do agree that if you hit the lights perfectly and you're going from point A to point B and you hit them right, if it does it, you're going to go. But anybody that's turning into them, you're waiting extra. So all those cars on every street, there might be one main street, but you got 40 different streets turning into it that are all backed up waiting unless they're turning right, to be able to jump on the road. If they're going to go left down and turn the other way, you're just sitting there. So it doesn't make much sense.
Those changes that you're talking about, is this, you change it once for the next couple, or is it real time changing like on the hourly basis?
It changes at night. They tell me that and it varies depending on them, that it automatically goes back to sensors after a certain time, but during the day, it's all on time. So you'll look down, like I'll get ready to turn into Dunbar where I live at Heritage Palms, and you'll look all the way down to Fred Waring, and there isn't a car coming, and your light's just red, and you're sitting there. Then all of a sudden, 20 cars go by, and the next thing you know, you're still sitting there, and then you look down in there, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, it turns. So what people are doing, and is they're just sitting there, they're waiting, they're looking both ways, which I don't know if it's legal or not. Nobody's coming. They just turn left. And what's going to happen is somebody's not going to make it, and we're going to lose somebody's life because they're just not doing it right. I understand the philosophy behind it, but every city in the valley is not the same, and we can't be treated all the same. It's just like our needs are different. So I think we can do it, but I'd like to have Tim work with them to see how it is and how it correlates with us, and then we need to modify it so it's in our best interest.
Well, I think the other thing that we need to also look at is it's the cities. We're literally in downtown and Interstate 10, and our city depends on the north and the south. So the volume of traffic during the day, during our
The analytics are there with their system. So we could ask for, as Councilman Gutron says, if we could say Fred Waring and Jefferson, what is the timing, what time of day, how many cars came through? They do have those analytics.
Good, then that's what we need to do. Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Gutron, you're up.
Well, I had the opportunity on Friday, March 20th, with you, Mayor, and also Councilmember Miller, to attend the Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce event at Macario's. The event was unique because they had all our state and federal representatives there talking about what they did and accomplished in 2025. And so that was the purpose of the roundtable. It was interesting, the dynamics. It was a well-attended event, and it looks like Macario's is doing really well at the same time. So that was really good. I appreciate their efforts. The other one I had the opportunity, currently seating as the president for the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector Control. I attended the AMCA, which is the American Mosquito Control Association, and it is a national meeting that was held in Portland. I walked away being extremely proud that our district that serves the entire valley, it's under the Department of Health, that we're up in the top 10. It is really interesting to know, and you don't really realize it, that how the health and welfare of our communities are regarding that little mosquito. It is just amazing. I know that Councilman Wayman Furman got a real interest because he's been promoting it on social media about the water and so forth. Glenn was able to help him with some funding opportunities. I think our taxpayers in our city pay a whole lot of agencies. They pay for our needs. They pay for all those other districts, special districts, sanitation, desert rec, and vector control, but their dollars being well spent. I mean, yeah, they all have a purpose, but I think it's important for the public to know that we have a place there representing this city, and to know that their dollars, their tax dollars, are being for the well-being of the health and safety of their friends and family. The other one is I had the opportunity to listen to people. The city manager covered it well regarding the upcoming festivals. And I just want to make sure that the publics that are directly impacted from the festival area, we could probably go a mile radius. It's not just the traffic, but it's everything else. A lot of after parties in our city. I just want to remind the community, and I know that Jim Curtis, our marketing team, the chief of police, the fire, the staff, the information is there. It's important to remind every single one, you're also entitled to your quality of life because you're not participating in the concerts. We still need to remember that we have
been paused. The ballots still remain in the custody of the Sheriff's Department, and we hope the California Supreme Court will mandate that these be returned to those who are legally allowed to handle them at the county registrar's office soon. Aside from that, I attended a youth boxing tournament at the Diaz training camp. They had 19 fights, including fighters from the Coachella Valley and all around Southern California. I want to congratulate all those who participated for their great performance, and thank you to the Diaz team for hosting this event for our youth and their families. I also attended a ribbon cutting for 760 Barbershop, which is next to Cardenas Market off of 111. We congratulated the new young business owners there, a local husband and wife, Abraham and Itzel. Go check them out if you're looking for a haircut. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, thank you, Mayor. This past week, I had the opportunity to attend the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission 55th Annual Gala at Agua Caliente Casino. It was a great event that was put on by the mission. And I want folks to understand some of the efforts that go on behind this fundraiser, from shelter, meals to recovery support, job readiness, education, and wraparound services that the mission continues. And those are critical services in our valley. And so thank you to the staff, volunteers, board members, and our executive director, Amanda Galindo, and everyone who gives their time, donations, and support to the rescue mission who make this possible. I also attended the CV Can event that was held downtown at the Coachella Valley History Museum. CV Can was a weekly event in the valley around cannabis policy, wellness, and community awareness. During this event, I participated in a short podcast interview where I shared my personal evolution in respects to cannabis and the importance of responsible regulation and how we worked as a city to create policy here in Indio. It was an honest, meaningful conversation, and I believe our city took a thoughtful and balanced approach in how we chose to regulate cannabis here locally in our city. So I commend our council and our staff for working on that. Also, I had a Visit Greater Palm Springs meeting. During the duration of that meeting, we received a update from Destination Stewardship Plan, which is a long-term roadmap for tourism and how we can continue to benefit our communities while protecting the quality of life of residents. And the conversation was focused on making tourism work, not only for the visitors, but for the residents as well. So it was a great conversation, and it's still a great effort that's ongoing. And during the meeting, the board also participated in the survey and discussed items and key priorities around the matter of our communities, including workforce development, workforce housing, more indoor recreation and activities, family-friendly amenities, transportation improvements, light rail, livable wage paying jobs, and creating more opportunities for upward mobility and employment. And those are for the folks who are supporting our tourism. And so that was a great presentation and survey from the Visit Greater Palm Springs. And also during the Visit Greater Palm Springs, I spoke on connecting the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission with Visit Greater Palm Springs to start to create some more pathways for our folks who are in recovery or who are fixing themselves or who are graduating out of programs, to create those pathways in hospitality and tourism in our valley as well. They have really great mentorship and education and just connections throughout our valley in respects to hospitality and tourism. So I was able to make that connection with the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission with folks in our community. And those are some of the things that go on behind the scenes when we're working with unsheltered folks. Sometimes we see people in the community and we think they will take care of it. They will take care of it. And in reality, they is us. They is the community. They is this dais. They is Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, and they is Visit Greater Palm Springs. And I also want to commend Visit Greater Palm Springs for supporting these efforts. They've been very instrumental in supporting affordable housing, energy in our community, because all of these things come together to support our tourism, and tourism is important in our community. The more tourism that we have and that revenue we could generate, it takes taxes and dollars, and puts them back in our residents' pockets. And so it's a fine balance with our tourism. However, it's very important. I also attended the Senior Inspirational Awards. Our Indio recipient was Senior Center class instructor Raquel Harris. This moment was very meaningful. She's a great person, and I know this because I've known her since I was a kid. I seen her name, and I didn't recognize her till I got there. And to see her all these years later, still doing the community work and being recognized by our city, it was amazing. She was a dear friend of my mother, and so it was great to see her again. However, she's still serving our community, so it was great to see her get recognized on the stage by the county. So hats off, and thank you, Raquel Harris. And where else did I go? Oh, and I also had a Fair Board meeting. So Fair Board is not really part of council, but I'm also on the advisory board for the fairgrounds, and I wanted to bring that back, this report, because we discussed a lot of things at the Day Festival, and a lot of folks, have a lot of questions about the Fair and Day Festival and preserving the traditions and history and how we're going to move forward. And so there's a lot of discussion behind getting our youth more involved. I brought the idea of having some youth ambassadors, even maybe possibly working with our YAC and other youth around the county. But we still have other traditions, the things that we had this year, like the rodeo, the monster truck shows, the animal auctions, the lowering of the American flag. We also honored a longtime Fair Board member, Nick Negosian, with the memorial plaque. But one of the things that hurt us this year was a lot of information and misinformation that went out about ICE that was going to be there. That hurt us in attendance and ridership with the rides. And so there's, needs to be more education about how the Riverside County Fair National Day Festival is here for everyone. There's no ICE enforcement at these events. Our police and our sheriff's department support the events along with private security. There was no ICE reported at this event. So it's real important that when we're talking about things like that and in our community, we really get the information right, because it does affect some of our programming in the city. However, we're looking forward to next year, still moving upward trajectory with the fairgrounds, and we're committed to building that tradition and keeping the legacy alive at the fair. And so that concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Go ahead, Councilmember Gutron.
Excuse me, Mayor, I want to make sure we don't ignore our Youth Advisory Council, but they did ask about the poop cans for the dog poop at the parks. They've identified a problem and they were looking for direction. I believe they have a solution, but since they have a project they want to take on, just like they did the vapes, now they want to take care of our parks from people having their pets go to the bathroom.
Right. I thought we had talked about the great job the city was doing, keeping them clean. I mean, do we need to look at having, those particular specific cans for animal waste that we see elsewhere?
Yeah, which parks was it
Well,
that
it
you
was
guys noticed
this
today?
Avenue 46. I
Yeah,
think.
it was down Avenue 46, which is the Yaks street that we adopted. We had Yak ourselves. We can purchase these the dog waste bags as well as the receptacles, and we can place them as well in coordination with the facilities along the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is that?
So is there something else that maybe we could do, like maybe ask the city manager to have the social media team? Maybe you guys could do some social media outreach to remind families and guests that are using the public parks you could use them, but pick up after yourselves and kind of that kind of message.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we could definitely look into.
I would leave that up to the consensus of the council, but I mean, I'm just sorry. I think we needed to get back to you.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to do it for you guys to do a public information thing. I think we can get together with a city manager and determine how many and where they can be replaced, where they can be placed appropriately. How's that?
Or loop it into whatever maintenance we currently have, right? Make sure that those are being picked up as well.
And then
But you
get
said you
back
have the funds already for the trash cans?
Yes, correct.
Awesome.
And get back to us with a report to see how you did.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you. Okay. We all attend many of the same things. We all sort of support this community in a big way. Yes, I was at the Rescue Mission Gala, but I was also at the graduation, and that is just so meaningful to see people that really had, down on their luck, real challenges with life, come into the rescue mission, and through really a tremendous team of people work toward lifting themselves up to the point of graduation and being able to get back out into society and to work and to communicate and to create relationships for a successful future. That graduation is really a phenomenal thing. It's twice a year, a spring and a winter graduation. And it's very, very meaningful to listen to the stories of some of these people and how far they've come in terms of making a better life for themselves and very often their families. I was also invited to attend the Alzheimer's event. That was packed. There were probably at least 400 people there. Mental health comes in many forms, as I realized through this Alzheimer's event, and how big it is here in the Valley. Just huge numbers of people with Alzheimer's of all ages, and what they're trying to do to educate. Had fun at AC Houston Lumber. AC Houston Lumber's been around for years and years and years. And there was a general manager by the name of Michael Claiborne, who has been there for 41 years. Spent his entire life in Indio, proud to say, I'm an Indio Raja, born and raised in Indio, worked here all my life, love what you're doing in Indio, loved growing up here. It was a wonderful small community, and now so wonderful to see it grow. So that was really a fun little event and conversation, and they, for his retirement, the entire AC Houston team really, gave him lunch and celebrated the 41 years he was with them. A couple of ribbon cuttings, Gracie Bora Jiu-Jitsu up in North Indio. That was very well attended. Family, again, husband and wife involved. This is their second one. And they said, no one, and they'd open them up in Hawaii and in other parts of the country, and never had any city ever approached them to do a ribbon cutting or talk to them about how they could help them market their business. Kudos to our staff for doing such a great job with these ribbon cuttings, with helping our small business community, with engaging them and embracing them. They couldn't stop talking about how wonderful it was to be in Indio, how wonderful the people were, and what a great opportunity it was for them. So thank you again. 760 Barbershop, again, another husband and wife. It was just a nice pool table. Those of you that want to get your hair cut and while you wait and play some pool. But it was super, super nice. They worked day and night for a month to completely renovate an old building, an old storefront. So it's super nice. And that whole area there is really starting to look nice. It's by the restaurant that we had, Guerrero, there on, it saves right next door or 2 doors down, because I know he came over as well. So little by little, that plaza is really lifting up. Nail salon that just came in recently. So that's really wonderful. Also attended Senior Inspiration Awards. It's just amazing how people that have given their life, that have worked so hard and whatnot, and want to just continue to giving back, helping out their fellow people, whether it's through with kids or kids in high school or seniors or whatever. As you've heard, Raquel Harris was ours, but I tell you what, hats off to every single volunteer in our community for having that desire to help others. And we wanted to mention, and I will close in the honor of someone named Marcos Lopez. For those of you that have been here a while, Marcos Lopez was a council member and a mayor. I know that when I first came to town in 2004, he was the first one to greet me at my business and say, hey, welcome, this is how Indio works, this is what, on and on and on. It was really a wonderful interaction. And just a little bit of background, thank you, Councilmember Gutron, for providing this. He really was a local barber, and you know what, when you have that small business bug, you just don't stop. It's just something that happens. So he opened up Taco Mark Mexican food restaurants. There are 3 locations in Indio. And then everybody probably knows him as the owner of La Piñata that was open for years and years and years. Now he's credited for organizing and contributed to the world's largest tamale in 1991 in the Guinness Book of World Records. We've always had fun with that right here at the Indio International Tamale Festival. So he was 90 years old. We will be made aware of the services and just wanted to acknowledge the tremendous effort that he put here in the city of Indio. And that ends my comments. Let's go on to the consent calendar. As I said, I have to recuse myself on item 10.8. Does anybody wish to pull anything, or do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar 10.1 through 10.9 with the recusal for 10.8 for Mayor Holmes.
And I'll second that.
Okay, let's vote. Yeah, you got it? Is it coming up?
Oh, yeah.
We got it. Everybody voted? We're good? Yes, fantastic. All right, thank you very much. All right, on to
Item 8.
Item 11.
Well, you recuse yourself from 10.8, so
I beg your pardon?
don't we have to vote on 10.8 now?
Oh, you have to
Yes.
vote on it separately. You know what, I always, want to
Yeah.
rock and roll with it.
Yeah.
Go right ahead. You handle it.
So I'll entertain a motion, item 10.8.
I'll motion to approve.
Mayor, we can vote on the whole consent calendar,
Put
just
us
note
up.
your recusal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need a second.
We don't have to vote on that?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Or too complicated. Okay.
Well, you make the big bucks.
Thank you, that's right. Okay, item number 11, public hearings, 11.1. Resolution numbers 10556 and 10557. Consideration of Planning Commission recommendations to approve tentative tract map number 34120 for the subdivision of approximately 7.61 acres into 50 residential lots, and planning review discretionary for the Australia Estates development and architectural design of 50 detached single-family residential homes in the suburban neighborhood high general plan designation and suburban neighborhood 8 zoning district located east of Jackson and north of Avenue 50. So this is a public hearing, but first I'd like to ask Brian Halverson for his.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. It's my pleasure to present the Australia Estates Housing Development. We'll try to get the slide to move here. Okay. So just real quickly, even though that description was pretty lengthy, I'll just kind of go over a few things for the project summary. Obviously, we have a map before you this evening, a subdivision map, as well as planning review discretionary of the actual homes that the developer is wanting to build. The applicant is here tonight, so we thank you for that. That's Yang Hu and his partner there with Pearl City Engineering. I'll bring up a map in a second. So we're all familiar with the location. They're off of near Jackson and 50. This is a 7.61 acre property, Of course, you know the proposal, which is 50 single-family homes. You already repeated the zoning, so we'll move on to the next slide. So in yellow, that's the proposed, it's a vacant site over 7 acres. You can see this borders real closely to the city of Coachella, but you can see the LNG market there off of Jackson. I actually always go out to the field and look at these sites before I present. So you can, as you're there, you can see across the street, there's a nursery there. There's single-family residences just to the west. And then, of course, the Dolphina community is under construction right now. They're making some good progress with that. This is what you saw today. If you were to go out to the site, it's vacant. And not much going on, but maybe some homes soon. So we're excited about that. Oops, let me go back. So this is the tentative tract map. Obviously, you have it in your packet. They're proposing 50 lots. Just a couple quick stats about that map. The average lot size is ranging anywhere from 4,500 to 6,896 square feet. The minimum lot size is 4,500, so they meet that. These are smaller lots, approximately 40 feet in width and 80 feet long. And that map will eventually, if things go well tonight, we'll come back to you for the final map. This is just a project site plan. So what this shows is the homes overlaid on those proposed lots in the subdivision map. So you can see those homes that are going to be laid out, the 50 homes, which includes a small area for a private park within the community, as well as an infiltration basin that you'll see a little bit easier on the next slide. So this shows some conceptual landscaping along the community and also shows a conceptual rendering of the house. They'll show a little more of how the houses will actually look. Now, those houses will all be mostly 4-bedroom homes. And just a couple stats on those homes. They're all 2 stories. The average size is about 2,300 square feet. It's my understanding there's 1 3-bedroom, but most of these are 4-bedroom homes. There's some park amenities that will be included on one of the lots, playground equipment, walking paths, shade, seating areas, and trees. These are the proposed elevations that are being reviewed by the council tonight through the design review, discretionary review. You can see a rendering off to the left there. These homes, there's 5 different models, so that'll be good for the future people who want to buy these homes. There's a variety of detail in the homes, window sizes, decorative doors. There's stone veneer on some of the models as well, so it's a good collection of 5 home types. So staff's review is, it is compliant with general plan, the Unified Development Code. It also complies with our subdivision regulations as well as the subdivision map act. There is one additional condition of approval I'd like to add tonight, if the council agrees. The landscaping along the streets is very, very important. And even though they did show a rendering of some landscaping along Avenue 50, I think it's appropriate to add some additional trees, shade trees, and larger trees that face Avenue 50. If I was to go back and show you, you'll see like a little strip there, but there's not a lot of detail about how that landscaping will look. So staff is requesting additional shade trees, larger shade trees along Avenue 50. So when you drive down Avenue 50, you'll see a nice presentation along our street. So other than that, the environmental review, we did a program EIR for our general plan. And so this review is already considered as part of that environmental review, the program EIR. And tonight, we're asking, the Planning Commission is asking, if you will, to approve Resolution 10556 for the tentative tract map, which is tract map 34120. And then, of course, another resolution for the planning discretionary review for the Estrella Estates residential development. And that does conclude my presentation. I'm available for any questions if the council has this evening.
Before I open the public hearing, does anyone have any questions of staff?
I'll wait until after the public hearing.
You want to do that? All right. I'd like to, public hearing is open. Does anyone like to speak on this item? Okay, I see. Name and, yep.
Mike Wales, 51165. Is I would really request that the city make better attention to what you approve and consider on the developers to make sure they actually deliver what's in the PMP. And this is more a reflection of what's happened at the Trilogy Polo Club, where there was a lot of things in the PMP that was required to make it a better lifestyle in the future for residents that have never been followed through by the city staff. Wall height, mitigation for sound. And so with what you're looking at this proposal, specifically to your landscape, is I would suggest you need to be better attentive to the details. So if you're going to pay all the attention up front now, make sure that's what the final delivered product is and hold the developer to that standard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, there being no further comments, I'll close the public hearing. Would the developer like to speak? No? Okay, all right. What is the pleasure of the council?
One question that I wanted to ask is, right now with the housing issues that we're seeing in the community, I've been trying to think of ways that we can ensure that new housing is going to families, right? And this is still pretty close to the festival, so I still want to make sure that people can make money off of the festivals and rent their homes out and make some extra money. But also, the year-long rentals, I think, are not a priority for me at the moment because of the need for housing in our community. So I wanted to see if, and see what if the owners would also consider this, if we could put some kind of restriction where we don't allow full-time, year-long short-term rentals, right? But we could still allow, let's say, 30 days a year for short-term rentals so that those families that are living there can still make money off the festivals. We still have, the lodging space during the festivals for people to go there, but we're still focusing on full-time residents and families as we're building housing. My concern is that sometimes we're building all these homes, but if they're being bought by, large companies and just rented out, we're missing out on that local revenue, and we're missing out on the housing for our families. So I wanted to see if the council would consider that and if the developers would consider that as well.
Comments?
I'll hear what
Just, I mean,
Can you just go back and clarify what the consideration is?
If we could put some kind of restriction on the short-term rental days for this development, so let's say you'd be allowed 30 days throughout the year to rent the home out, but, other than that, it wouldn't be, 365 days rentals.
I understand.
It would be limited to 30 days a year, so that we ensure that these homes are going to families.
Wouldn't that be in our CCNRs?
I was going to say, yeah.
So I had a couple thoughts on the enforcement side of that. In terms of a condition, we could put a condition of approval on both resolutions that requires no more than 30 days in any calendar year. You can operate as a short-term rental. My recommendation would be to include in the subdivision resolution a condition that every residential parcel have a restrictive covenant in a form approved by me and the community development director that has that restriction on the property, and it is included in the CCNRs so that it can be enforced by the HOA. A lot of HOAs within the community have similar restrictions, or they don't allow short-term rentals at all. And so having that in the CCNRs as the primary enforcement mechanism, and then the restrictive covenant back to the city for the backup would be how I would recommend enforcing that if the council wanted to go in that direction.
I just, my concern is I don't want to get into one of these situations where we have now where HOA says something and we say something else, and we have residents that live there don't agree. So, I mean, who is going to enforce this? Is it, or what's the bottom line? Is the bottom line the HOA, or is it going to be the city?
Both parties.
So I generally write these, and I've been working with our planning staff to make sure that our city regulations are in line with the HOA regulations, and that both parties have the ability to enforce. Because I think that that is where we ensure consistency, but we also ensure that our resources are being used wisely. So that we can set it up that way. if that's the council's direction, where it would be both a requirement of the CCNRs, but also a city requirement imposed on the property, and both parties would be able to enforce it.
Thanks.
Microphone. On
Yeah,
the
yeah, go
microphone.
Thank you. Ortiz, I thought you were giving me Google eyes. Anyways, I appreciate the signal. My concern, and again, it's probably not going to go well with Brian. It wasn't going to go well with his predecessor. And the challenge is, because of personal experience and dealing with it, I dealt with it at Terra-Lago when it was an open community and it was a private community. And I have a hard time swallowing. I know the differences, and I talked over it with the city manager, is if it's going to be an HOA, then you're going to gate it. If it's going to it's going to be an HOA not gated, it's one gate. You have a challenge with the checks and balances for the community, that there's an expectation by public service to handle their HOA problems. And Terra-Lago had to take out a loan 3 years after it was in place, 4 years, and became a big controversy. Lawsuits were flying, and then we hit them hard with the Melrose. Now, that's not a Melrose here, but the problem was with cost. We also had the same problem that we had with another development, which is on Jackson, and we basically gave them the option, it's up to you if you're gonna gate it. If you are, it'll be an HOA. If it's not, it'll be an open community. Now, obviously, if it's a gated community, they're gonna be responsible for their streets regardless, even if it's private, but the checks and balances stop at the gate. And the gates are only as good as how strong the HOA is, like I was mentioning earlier. There's a lot of civil issues going back and forth that public safety has to get involved in it, and access and control is a problem. And I don't want these residents 10 years from now where they're gonna have a problem, or 5 years from now. So it's proposed to be a private community with no gates.
Right.
But there will be challenges, and I guarantee you they will be. These homeowners will buy, and they'll expect the enforcement of actions of ingress and ingress to be done by public safety. Now, if they're trespassing, that's one thing. Now you bring the element of STRs and the access control. With today's technology, they have access codes and limitations and how they manage them, and their CCNRs, how they're gonna be enforced. And again, we've tried this 3 times before, and it was an absolute failure.
I guess from my perspective, every community doesn't need to be gated, but isn't there a mechanism, city attorney, such that, people have to get a permit, a business license, whatever, if they're gonna do short-term rentals?
And don't make it an HOA then. Leave it a complete open community. Take the element of the HOA out.
And doesn't the HOA give us, or give the HOA a little bit more control?
It won't if it doesn't have that access and control.
City
It
attorney?
works in other communities well, but like I was told back with Terra-Lago by the same commission, and it ended up biting us later.
I was part of that, but I want to hear what the city attorney has to say.
Certainly. And this has been a good conversation that I've been having with planning staff about how to best leverage the CCNRs, the HOA model, having that integrate and be a force multiplier for code enforcement, and not necessarily getting in each other's lane or having conflicting regulations. I think the council member's point is well taken. I think that when you have that physical barrier, it also works as a sort of mental understanding that when we pass the gates, this is our responsibility as a community. I have worked with several ungated HOAs throughout my career. Sometimes they're underfunded. Sometimes they aren't taking care of the infrastructure that they're required to do. And the residents inevitably start coming to the city and saying, our streets aren't taken care of, our landscaping's not taken care of, why aren't you helping us? And we say, well, you're an HOA, you have those responsibilities. So I've worked with staff, we've added some additional language to CCNRs going forward that will enable the city to actually enforce those CCNRs and levy. It's similar to a tax lien, but it's actually a special HOA lien if we have to. So we do have that backup ability in the future. I'd rather not use it. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of use of city resources. We would be compensated. But I think I see where the council member's going on this, and I would agree that from a purely contextual framework when working with folks, I think having that clear delineation of where the responsibilities begin and end is helpful.
And it makes it easier if it's gated. This is probably the rest of it. Go ahead.
If I could, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember.
Brian, what is the wording in our general plan for, I remember we were discussing when we did the general plan back about gated communities and not going towards gated communities. It was one of the things that bring communities that are more open so people could be there. What is our wording in our general plan on gated communities?
Yeah, I wanted to pull that up. If IT can put my presentation up one more time. It basically discourages gated communities, and I'll just put up that policy real quickly. I do want to emphasize, and maybe the applicant can expand upon this, if they were to make it gated, and that design, as we all know, requires a turnaround, it requires a little more space for queuing, et cetera, they would actually lose some lots, so they wouldn't be able to do the 50 lots. So I want to make sure they at least know that. So the policy is at the end of my presentation. I just didn't know if we want to pull it up. So it's land use element policy LU 7A. So discourage the construction of new gated communities when gated communities are allowed, require frequent pedestrian and bicycle connections between the gated community and surrounding areas at distances no more than 600 feet. So the idea is not a prohibition, but discouraged if in fact the city council wants to make those neighborhoods, those new developments, a little more inviting, a little more, more connections and things like that. It is something that's more of a trend, but at the same time, we do understand that the safety is perceived once you have the gates and the HOA does, kind of take over that domain, et cetera. But that is the policy that's in our 2040 general plan.
And I think we were doing that because we thought that it would bring in more development that would feel more open to the community. But a gated community is a gated community. The idea behind having that is that people want to live behind that gate because it gives them an encompass of a closed area that, exactly like Mr. Gutron said, they're responsible for. City's not responsible for the road. We're not responsible for this. We're not responsible for that. And if that's what the developer wants to do is a gated community, we shouldn't discourage it. I don't like this. I didn't like it back then. I don't like it now. I think the market should bear what it does. But when we get those areas that are having streets, they're responsible for the streets. They're responsible for everything else. We've seen that on a couple of streets we have over by my district, over off of Jefferson, where people think those beat up old streets and the bad landscape's ours. And what happens is they want to know when we're going to fix it and why we're not fixing it, but it's not our responsibility. But trying to highlight that to the community or people that drive by it every day is very difficult. Like, what do you mean it's not your street? What do you mean it's not your landscape? Well, why would you let it look like this? When we have to go back, we got to go back, have them ridden up, got to get the prosecutor involved, we get code enforcement and all that. It's another area and another streets that we need to take care of that shouldn't be our responsibility. And I understand the gated community part of it. And it's not like you're safer in that, but you know who's responsible for it. The city has over, I think, 200 miles of streets. Do we really need to add more to it? And then if people drive in there and they park there, who's going to tell them to get out? How do you know that that person that comes in there is not welcome or is not a guest or something like that? You can't just go by and go through. When you have a gated community, you have to come through. You know who gives you the code. You know who goes through. You know if they get past that gate, they were able to get through because somebody let them in. On an open community like that, that's an HOA where people have authority. Somebody drives in there and parks, let's say to go to the concert or something. How do you know that that's not somebody that's got responsibility or they're somebody's brother or their friend to somebody else? You can't just start towing cars. I think it creates an issue that we don't need to have. And I think we need to not only get rid of this and make this a gated community, I think we also need to take this out of our general plan and have our general plan amended that it has nothing to do with discouraging the construction of whatever it is. It should be what the market bears. If that's what we're going to sell in this community, because that's what they want, great. If they don't want an HOA, even the low-income housing, affordable housing we have on Jefferson has a gate in some of the areas. It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
I have one question, Brian. Delphina, that's just north of it, is that a gated community?
Yeah, I actually took a picture.
Yeah.
So there it is. It's on the right. The Delphina project is gated. Now, I wanted to show opposing pictures. So to the left is the Del Sol development. That's open, Tierra del Sol. And then Delphina, which is a very recent development, is gated.
Tierra del Sol is where?
Across the street.
In the city of Coachella, right?
No, It's the
No,
city
no,
of
this
Indio.
is in the city
It's
of Indio.
Indio?
It's literally to the
But it's,
north across the street.
it's not a HOA.
You know, I didn't do that research
No.
beforehand, but
I
that's a good
already
question.
know, I already know the answer. I just want to know if you know.
All right.
Because
You're
you're the
quizzing
one that's
me.
planning these out.
Yeah.
I know the area extremely well. It's not an HOA. This one is an HOA, but it's because it was designed not to be an HOA. That's my whole point. My whole point to my discussion is, if it's not going to be gated, then don't make it an HOA. It's less headaches for us. When everybody's gone, we're still dealing with it. It's less headaches. I've given 3 examples where our city's gone through it. It works well in other really well-planned communities because it's surrounded by that environment. There's nothing to support this around it. The dynamics are extremely different.
Yeah.
You're trying to squeeze a size 8 and a size 5 shoe because it looks good on data, but the reality of life and actually beings and families being there, it doesn't spin out later.
If I could just add one, just to add to that just very quickly. So this proposed development will have open space. It will have some common landscaping. There'll be amenities. It is private streets as well. So if there isn't an HOA, maybe the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but there needs to be some sort of mechanism in place to address those common areas, common landscaping. You have walls, you have the amenities within the open space, which isn't a city park. So there would need to be something in place to address that.
Completely understand that. Completely understand that because we have planned communities in our city that are not HOAs with those amenities now. And they're down Avenue 48, and they're up on the, not so much on the north end because that was at the time when those developments were being done by the developers. But we have them on 48, we have them off of Madison as well, and we have them off of Jackson. But there again, it's up to the city to maintain them.
I would say that the likely alternative structure, and I don't know how well it's been studied at this point, would be the creation of some sort of assessment district to take care of those common areas, the landscaping. I'm guessing that we didn't get an engineer's report or any of that stuff put together because we went on the HOA route on this one. But if, you know, if it was the council's direction that you wanted to pursue that alternative, we could certainly look at that.
Go ahead, Councilmember Ortiz.
So I think we have 2 questions that we're going through right now, right? Well, one is, would we go with an HOA that is gated or an open and no HOA? And the other one with the restrictions on the short-term rentals. But I'd like to see if we could open the public hearing back up to see if the developer has any comments on those 2 questions that we're considering at the moment.
Well, and I think, is there not another question in there that says if an ungated community with an HOA, which creates a different level of complexity? But I agree. I'm going to open up the public hearing and see if they would like to come up. I mean, that's part of the general plan, you know, so if we want to go through and decide that we don't want any, then maybe we need to do a general plan amendment, but thank you. Welcome.
Present it to us. I'm Helen and this is Sam. The only reason why we have a HOA is those common areas, but we like the presentation where perhaps we could do a tax assessment and not have an HOA. That would actually be ideal.
Okay.
Any thoughts on the short-term rental?
Right. The common area.
Lighten and landscape
We'll just-
district.
right,
We would have to
just
have,
like we
to,
have
have,
with-
to have
with
a
everything
kicker
else.
into it, but you know, we've
Right.
tried to get away from lighten and landscape districts if we can. But on the 30-day, I agree with Mr. Ortiz. Is there an issue with
30-day,
limiting
right.
to short-term rentals to 30 days in your CC&Rs?
Because the project, we're building it for families. That's
Okay.
why there are 4 bedrooms, and because we're expecting like the generations to want to live together. So in the design, there are the main 4 bedrooms for that, for the generational living.
Very good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have the families in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So what I'm hearing is assessments, but no HOA. Okay. So how do we do that?
I might just want to jump in just from perspective. I think Councilmember Miller brought it up just recently. The assessments will be a management issue for the city to address and to make sure that we're out there maintaining these things. It could very well be like another LLD.
Right.
So just know there's a layer of complexity that kind of shifts the burden back to us. I'm personally a fan of the gates for a number of reasons for the delineation that's been discussed. So I would recommend the gates, and we have some communities here, and we've seen them elsewhere, where rather than lose lots, there may be a lot or two that is outside of the gate. And that's done to provide a queuing or a throat to allow for some stacking of vehicles. So that could be an accommodation so that the applicant does not lose the lots and the homes that we're trying to create. If we do get to the discussion and your decision relating to the limitation on the short-term rentals, it would be much easier for staff to make sure that there's a window. We've gone through this before when this was brought up previously. If it's a rolling 30 days, it will be an administrative nightmare for us to know throughout the year, okay, did you do 29 days? Did you do 28? Did you do 31? What days were they? So while I know that there are, and we hope for more festivals in the fall, one idea would be a 30-day window from April 1st to May 30th, for example. So if you consider that, that might assist us quite a bit on the administrative side. And I would recommend, personally, again, maybe trying to shift the administration to an HOA rather than to any assessment that the city has to be responsible for. We have 52 LLDs, maybe 57, or more than 50, and they are a bear.
They are a challenge. I do acknowledge that. By the way, I want to close the public hearing. Thank you. Yes, did you want to say something?
And I think the city manager is correct. I think we do, I have no problem with the 30 days, but I think we do it in 2 months
Right.
schedule because we are going to have more concerts, and I think in October and November, smaller that. So maybe we do it from, April 1st to May 30th, and then from October 1st to November 30th, and that's in that time frame, so they can rent it in between those times, maybe for festivals only, if they want to.
I think if the council's direction was that you wanted this to be limited to the time periods when we are having festivals, I think we can incorporate language that incorporates the permits issued under the development agreement, so that, we would still have a defined time period, but, those days can change. So I think that we could give that certainty, and it would be based purely on the festivals under the development agreement. I think we can include a reference there.
And if we go to that, I think we also need, because of our issues, we had a trillage in that. It needs to be in the CCNRs, that those timeframes that are available, and people understand that these things are doing it, and that we put a notice out to all the area that's around that area, letting them know what this could possibly be. So there is no gray area.
So the language I had, I was starting to draft the requirement, would have required the declaration to be recorded on every parcel, runs with the land, binds successors, identifies the city as an express beneficiary with enforcement rights, requires disclosure to all future purchasers. So there would be disclosure, they'd sign it, we'd have that documentation, and provide that no amendment or termination be effective without prior city.
And they'd have to get that, but we also need to, when it goes through, when it comes to, is it going to go back to the planning commission, or does it stay with us if we change this?
Right now, this stays with you. So if you want to make amendments, we can make those amendments, and then you could make a decision today if you wanted to.
All right. Who would like to make any other thoughts, or does somebody want to make a recommendation? You had it all kind of settled.
I'm just thinking if the client is not wanting the gates or the HOA, there's going to be neighborhoods that are being built without gates, right? So how are we going to manage those?
Well, I guess.
Are we not going to do any more LLDs?
Well, that's the challenge with the LLDs. I'm not a huge gate person. However, I think it works better. LLDs have been a challenge for us, an administrative nightmare, and a financial challenge for us for years and years and years.
But what are we going to do when we build non-gated communities now?
So I'll take a crack at that one. The two pathways for modern residential development are assessment districts or HOAs. If you don't have either of those, then the general fund is required to fund that landscaping maintenance for what are no longer common areas. Now it's just sidewalk that's owned and operated by the city. Mm-hmm. And it comes with all the liability that you assume with that too. Yeah. So I'd say that's why you've probably moved towards the HOA model here. Yeah. A lot of communities have. But ultimately, I think most city councils are looking for a non-general fund source of revenue to fund that ongoing maintenance obligation, either an HOA or an assessment district.
Yeah, I think we need to have that option open for this community and other communities coming in, that if they're preferring to not have a gate and not an HOA, then we need to have that option open. So I would push more on the assessment district because that's what the developer is preferring at this moment. I know it's more work for us, but it's new housing coming in for families, right? 50 new homes. I don't think we can restrict to just HOAs and gated communities at this moment.
Go ahead.
But, you know, when you were looking at safety too, I'm not talking safety in terms of, you know, burglaries or that. I'm talking about if you have kids on there, you don't want people driving in and out. The gate slows people down and makes them responsible. If he's talking about truly having families there, then you know that the gated community will be safer for those youth too, to be able to play in the front yard, play any other thing and do stuff, because the people coming through there either live there or have responsibility there. When it's an open street and people want to go drive down it, they're going down a street they don't know anything about. When you have that gate there, not only does it protect it, but it goes out. I don't want to take over any more lighting and landscape districts. One, we do a terrible job with it because we don't have the funding. And secondly, we don't have the manpower to be able to do it. The gated community and the HOA, as they come forward, I think are best for this project personally. And I honestly do believe that we should change the general plan to not have anything about discouraging and not having gated communities. Whatever the developer looks at, we're always going to look at it, but we got to do what's in the best interest of the residents. To me, if you're going to have real true families there, you want that gated so that you don't have it. That's the other part.
We have plenty of neighborhoods that aren't gated, that are safe in our communities.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not, but I'm talking about when you're in an enclosed area like that, all you're doing is one street going up and around. It's not like a long stretch of individual or people can see things coming. It's coming up and going around. I think it needs to be gated, my personal self.
I don't think so. And if the developer is asking for it not to be gated and not to have an HOA, I think we should be open for business in that sense.
I guess we can take a vote on that. Did you want to contribute?
Yeah, I think part of the spirit of putting that in the general plan was to create affordable living situations for people in the inner city. A development with the HOA and gates and really not going to go in, you know, where some of these areas are, you know, where we have shopping, where we have schools, those kind of communities. I think some kind of communities better well fit with gates. This is off of Avenue 50. It's a major road going into that area. and I see where that's going. It's not around schools, not around parks. There might be some parks in there. It's not around retail. So I think a gated community would fit there. Now, if it was in the middle of our town somewhere, I think that's where we came with that concept, right? It's more welcoming, more open. And from a more personal account, you know, sometimes, you know, we do have some bad actors out there, and we're working on that. We talked about that earlier with traffic. And when you do have a gate, it kind of blocks some of those folks from coming in there and, you know, just driving through and creating issues. Not to say that the issues take away all the gates take away all the issues, because we do have some in our gated communities. Nonetheless, I think some of the areas, you know, kind of dictate, you know. So for this, you know, I respect the developer, but I think they would have a better chance of selling those properties faster and easier if it was gated with the HOA.
And I also think you have to take into consideration what you brought up, Councilmember, is the cars, right? Especially at a couple of times a year. So you're going to have people that are just going to be parking everywhere that you can't regulate and you can't control because it's a neighborhood street without a gate. So particularly come festival season or anywhere around there when somebody has an event or something, that's going to be open. It's going to be wide open for people to park. And again, if you are creating this really wonderful family environment, then you're going to run into challenges with people looking for parking spaces, kids playing in their own front yard, so on and so forth. So, you know,
with an expansion of a gas station next door, I would prefer gated.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that.
Council, can I just add one small point to the discussion if I could? So the way this project is designed, they will be private streets. So they're not designed as public streets. So they don't meet the dimensions that are required. So the city would not be maintaining private streets. I just want to, you know, remind you that that's the way it was designed, is not public streets. So they don't, and they would have to redesign the project if they decided to do public streets. So
And
just want to
public-
bring that point to light.
Which means public streets means non-gated, is that what you're?
Not necessarily,
reference,
it just
okay.
means the city would not be maintaining private streets.
Right.
So,
That has nothing to do with the
Understood, but
gate. You
yeah.
put a gate up, it's a private community.
Certainly.
So
That's
that they
right.
can have the streets just like they are. They don't have to redesign it except for how they want to stack the cars with the gates.
Well, if someone wish to make a recommendation?
I'd like to make the motion, I don't know how to word it, but with the restriction on the short-term rentals to the times of the festivals, and then with the HOA and gated community there. Since that, I think, you know, you made a good point with the gas station being next door. This is going to be families. I think that makes more sense on that end.
Councilmember, I don't want to read the whole condition into the record here. Just trust it, I'll send it to the city clerk. But I defined the festival period as 5 days before the first event day of a festival under our development agreement that exists, and 5 days after the last event day of a festival. So that gives a decent size window for, and there's a maximum of 5 festivals per year under the development agreement. So that I think would limit it, and it would be a very defined set of time for staff. And then it prohibits the property from operating as an STR at any other point.
Okay. Okay, do I hear a second? I have a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second. I was,
Okay,
And if I could,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I would also like, I don't know if we can do this, Stephen, you have to tell me if we can. I would like to look at our general plan too, and put that into it to be able to take out that wording that we encourage. You know, it should be the market of what goes through. This is a prime example. I think this resident, the developer that came through, looks at that and sees the general plan. It shouldn't be discouraged on whatever it is. If that's what it needs to be as an open area, it needs to be an open area. But I'd like to see that wording. I don't know how we get to the general plan and taking that out.
So if the motion maker wanted to add that to the motion, it could be included, it could be a separate motion. But I think that when I'm reading that section of the general plan, I see it as encouraging connected communities. Instead of having like a fortress, they want to have that ability to be walkable. And so I think that we could state that general plan policy in the positive, which is we want to encourage a connected community without, you know, discouraging the having of gated communities through HOAs. We can certainly do that if you'd like.
Could we bring that as a separate item
right,
next
right,
meeting?
that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
good with that.
Do you have a discussion on that?
First and second.
we add the landscaping recommendation as well, if the council agrees with it as part of this motion.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll agree to this.
All right, let's go. A good conversation. Okay, all in favor, all of us voted yes. I couldn't quite get that out. Thank you very, very much. All right. Item number 11.2. What, yes, ma'am?
May I request that we have one of our public comment speakers go now? We have a service for him to provide his comment through ASL.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Richard Millen Barra? Ah, yes.
Could I request a minute and a half since I'm using an interpreter?
And you do have, excuse me, and you do have double the time, so you have 6 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, council member, good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Richard Minyambara. Before I begin, I wanted to note that myself, I am deaf and hard of hearing. I'm deaf without my hearing aid, and I'm hard of hearing when I put them on. The reason I'm here today is I would like to begin by reminding everyone that April is Deaf History Month, a time to recognize the rich cultural history, contribution of deaf and hard of hearing individuals throughout our communities. It is also a time to reflect honestly on whether our cities are truly accessible to everyone. Accessibility is not just a value we talk about, it's a civil right. Recently, California Office of Civil Rights was closed and discrimination complaints from our state must now be processed through the Seattle office as a result. It can take up to a full year just to receive a response. This means that when accessibility barrier occurs, deaf and hard of hearing individuals are often left without timely support or protection. Indio proudly calls itself the city of festivals. Every year, thousands of people attend concerts, events, and community gatherings that take place weekly. These events celebrate our culture and bring people together. However, for deaf and hard of hearing residents and visitors, access to those events is often limited by a requirement to request an interpreter 2 weeks in advance. But the American with Disability Act, ADA, does not require interpreter to be requested weeks in advance. The law requires effective communication within means providing quality interpreters in a timely and reasonable manner. Many organizations suggest advance notice of 72 hours to a week to secure service, but real life does not always work that way. What if someone declares to attend an event, we would have to participate in their own community. Under the current system, they are effectively executive not because access is impossible, but because the system was not designed with that in mind. If Indio truly wants to be the city of festival, it must also be a city where everyone can participate equally, including deaf and hard of hearing community members. Access is not a special request, access is a right. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. Very
Thank you,
good.
Mayor.
Very, very good. Thank you. Okay, next item, last item, actually, 11.2. Mr. Ansorian, compliance with new legal obligations regarding public hearing on city vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts. Has to do with Assembly Bill 2561, Government Code Section 3502.3.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes, City Council members, Andrew Ansurian, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. It is my pleasure to present to you the status of the city vacancies, recruitments, and retentions for fiscal year 25-26. Here's a brief review of the agenda. We're going to talk about the vacancies by bargaining unit, which is mandated by law. We'll talk about some of the recruitments, workforce data, and retention efforts that the city team has embarked on in the last fiscal year. I think you're all familiar with this city's newly adopted mission statement, but I wanted to also share with you the HR department's strategically aligned mission. I highlighted some key words in that statement because these are words that my team and the department heads feel are very important when we are conducting searches to fill vacancies. We want to find and keep the best and brightest people who are not just willing, but they're eager to enhance the quality of life for people in our community. And that's something we live every day in my office. Here's my team. Without them, nothing goes. So we do a lot. We have a small, little, powerful team, and apparently I was out that day and they thought getting ice cream and taking a picture and sending it to me would be clever. This is what we call our human resources periodic table. I included in the slide deck just in case you needed a little reminder of what the HR department does. Each one of these squares represents a functional area that my team is responsible for. AB 2561 is a legislation that was enacted effective January 2025. It requires all public agencies to report their vacancies by bargaining unit. And this next table pretty much satisfies that requirement. And what you'll see, and this is very similar to the table that I provided last year, it's just the data is all updated. On the left column, you'll see all of our bargaining units. And then you'll see the number of authorized full-time positions by those units that was adopted through the budgetary process, and then the current number of vacancies by those bargaining units. And then the final column is a percentage of vacancy. The reason why we have to put the percentage in there is because if you hit 20% vacancy in any one of those bargaining units, you have to do some additional reporting. Fortunately, we do not hit the 20% threshold, and we are continuing to do recruitments across all of these areas. For example, the at-will row there at the very bottom shows one vacancy that's been filled since I produced this presentation. So this is a constantly dynamic table, and the data is constantly changing based on our recruitment efforts. Number of recruitments citywide. This table represents recruitment activities going back to the year 16, 17. You can see we've been pretty busy the last 5 years. We're currently at 45 recruitments this year. Keep in mind we have 4 months left in the recruitment season, so I would expect that number to be close to the average, roughly around 55 by the time the season's done. But we've been busy the last 5 years, and we've transformed our workforce in the last 5 years, and we have a lot of super talented people on our team now, and we hope to keep them. We also like to track the number of days to fill a position. The public sector gets a bad rap for taking a long time to fill positions. I'd like to think we work extremely efficiently with our department heads and other recruitment teams throughout the city, and our average this year is 27 days to fill a position. Last year it was 24, so we did go up 3 full days. Recruitment investments, this is just a pinwheel here that shows you the various ways we go about recruiting. We use your standard job boards, professional organization, outreach, internships. We use consultants. We use temp agencies, referrals from other employees. So there's a variety of ways we try to attract people, and some work better than others depending on the occupation. I believe a couple months ago, I believe a question came from a city council member about what are some of the hard to fill positions, and forgive me, I forgot which council member, but here's a listing. I pulled this from our applicant tracking system. This blue graphic here shows what I would call hard to fill positions. These are positions where we receive a small number of applications every time we do a recruitment. All of these jobs you see in the blue square, they average around 9 applications per search. That's not very good. That's a pretty low number. There's a lot of reasons why those numbers are low. Some of those positions are in the planning and engineering fields. Many of those positions require unique educational backgrounds, and not many students are going through higher ed obtaining education and degrees in those areas. So that's one of the challenges. Engineering is just a challenge nationwide because we're competing with the private sector in those areas. But one that jumped out at me was equipment operator. That kind of surprised me. And I think we are going to work on some solutions on how to build apprentice programs going in the next year, and how maybe we can create an apprentice program that will take youth from our communities and get them into some of these areas where we're having a difficult time in water and maybe in the street maintenance area, and get them apprentice programs so we can hire them within 1 or 2 years of getting some specified training. There are some models from the city of Phoenix, city of Charlotte, who have some advanced programs in these areas, and we might model some of those as well. I shared this graphic last year because I think it's very important. I think Councilmember Gautran referenced it tonight. Hiring a police officer takes a long time, and I think it's very important that the public remember that and be reminded that Chief and his team go through a very rigorous process in vetting candidates and training candidates and sending them to the academy and conducting extremely thorough background checks. And a lot of people fail out throughout the process, but it takes about 18 months from screening to actually getting a sworn officer on the streets. It's a lot of investment and a lot of time, and Chief and his team have been doing a great job in the last couple of years. Here's a great success story, and Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, according to the data, this was the first time in 5 years our dispatch center was fully staffed. True story. Okay, good. Thanks, Chief. A lot of reasons. Having a nice, beautiful facility. Thank you, City Council, played a part in that. Some cultural change, some leadership change, some investments in training and onboarding, some creative recruiting, and they brought in a consultant to help them revamp some of their systems and processes. So I think there's multiple reasons why we're seeing this success in staffing in this area. This unit has been a challenge to staff throughout the years. It's a very challenging work environment, but I think Chief and his team have made some substantial progress in making it more of a desirable career option. I try to include the generational slide every year because I'm trying to demonstrate trying to analyze if we're getting younger or older as a workforce, and we are inching towards a younger workforce. The column in orange is this year's current data, and if you look at the far right, that's the Gen Z generation. That's our emerging workforce, and we've jumped up 3% with that younger cohort. Over the next 5 to 7 years, you're going to see some significant changes in these columns here. You're going to see Gen Zers retiring, and the great majority of the workforce is going to be Gen Zers and millennials. I believe this was another question a city council member had a few months ago. I think the question had to do with where do our workers live? Where do they reside? And I pulled this straight out of our database here, and the great majority of our workers reside here in Indio. 50% of our workers live in Indio. If you combine Coachella, Indio, La Quinta, and Palm Desert, that's about 80% of our workforce is spread out among those 4 cities. So I was a little surprised that it was 50% in Indio, and pleasantly surprised. This is a very important slide because we've seen a very, very noticeable change for the positive here. This is our turnover, our retention data. If you go to the 3 columns on the far right of that graph there, you'll notice in 2023, 2024, our overall turnover was 15.2, which is okay. And then we had a nice little drop the following year to 13.7, but now we're down to 10.18. So we have a really, really solid retention number right there. And what's even more interesting is if you go over to the first three columns where it says voluntary turnover, we had a substantial drop in voluntary turnover. And voluntary turnover is just your general resignations and retirements. We dropped significantly in that area. Now, voluntary turnover is different than involuntary turnover. Involuntary turnover is usually due to a performance-related reason. But this is a very positive sign. National averages right now are about 13 to 15% across certain industries. So this tells us a lot about what's going on in our culture and our organization. People like working here right now, and we hope it stays that way. Some retention investments. I'm not going to go through all these, but the ones in the green I would like to highlight. Employee surveys. We like to conduct employee surveys here for a couple reasons. Well, one reason, if you remember in our strategic plan, there's a performance metric, number 7, under organizational excellence, that asks staff to report out what the percentage of staff who report a positive work experience. Well, the only real way you can get that is through some type of survey instrument. The next reason we want to hear from the workforce is we value their opinions. We find their opinions and voice important to help us advance changes in the organization, help us find hot spots that we weren't aware of, or maybe areas that we need to celebrate. So this year we did what we called the Employee Pulse Survey. We surveyed the entire workforce, including the police department. We had about a 49% return rate for this survey. And I want to just point out 2 data points. When staff were asked, working for the city of Indio is a positive experience, 82.4%, they agreed with that statement or strongly agreed with that statement. That's an exceptional number. That really tells us something is going right here. It's a good culture, it's a high-performing workplace, something healthy is going on here. This is a very good data point that the City Council should be proud of. The next data point I want to share is something called the Net Promoter Score. This is something used in private industry, particularly in the retail industry, but you can use it for employment purposes. This question is, how likely are you to recommend working for the City of Indio to a friend or colleague? And that question is important because some of our best recruiters are not me or my staff. It's our employees. Our employees are probably our most effective ambassadors for selling people to come here to work, because they not only sell the city as a place to work, but they usually refer really good people, because they don't want to refer someone who's not going to perform well or embarrass them. So our score was a 40, which means the city has a solid foundation with a positive level of employee engagement and loyalty, with room for improvement. So we're hoping that number goes up, but that's a really good sign that people in our workforce are recommending this place to work. The next area I'd like to emphasize with regard to retention is a program called Indio University. This is a program where we've decided to create little micro on-site training programs to help our staff with their personal, professional, and financial well-being. We have 15 programs that we delivered this year. We're not all done. We still have a few more to do. But you can see the topics listed up there cover a wide variety of topics. And these are very well attended. These are free. They're delivered by either staff or people we work with through our insurance companies. And we're going to continue to expand this program because it's been very well received. And this is something that, let's see if there's any attendee. Yeah, there's one attendee in here, one speaker. This is a really important program we started about 3 years ago called Future Leaders of Indio. This is a leadership training program designed for aspiring leaders who currently work at the City of Indio or leaders currently in leadership roles. You can see some of the topics we cover there. This is totally designed by staff. This is delivered by staff. This is done on site. We've had about 80 graduates over the last 3 years. This year we did partner with COD to deliver one program. Again, this is a program we hope to continue. It's been very well received. And the whole goal is to help prepare future leaders in our city to close the skill gap if they have any deficits. So when they do get into a leadership role, they can be successful. And the last program we started last year is our internship program. This one's a super successful program. We've had internships in city clerk's office, city manager's office, IWA, PD, planning, sustainability, HR. Every department pretty much has had an intern in the last 2 years. Last year we had 15 interns. These are paid professional interns. They're given bona fide work tasks. They're given supervision. They work for 12 weeks for 20 hours each week. This year, we've currently have completed 14, but we're on pace to have 20. From this program, we've actually hired 5 employees from our internship program. So it is a pipeline strategy. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the City Council might have.
Questions?
Just
comments?
2 statements. The heavy equipment operator, obviously for Public Works, have we looked at any of the valley contractors where they're only working by season that might have that skill that we can go after? We have a lot of heavy equipment operators that work in that industry, and sometimes either construction goes down and they're working, you know, a lot of the big heavy equipment we now have, a lot of the ones that require commercial licensing and so forth, maybe hitting that area would be a good idea. I know that even the county has one because it's a desolate area in Civic Center. They have a skip loader and they're always advertising it because it doesn't last long. So I'm maybe thinking about hitting.
I think that's a great idea. I might put it on my topics to discuss with Mr. Pena.
There's a zillion of them out there that might want a good, stable job. And the other thing is the internships. I've seen a lot of good skill, and I see the retention that's going into. Is there something more structured that would be inviting that we can do to continue to do that? I know that Councilmember Ortiz and I having discussions with COD, they were willing to look at areas that they might not focus on, but they might see an opportunity. We were just talking about a business opening in downtown today where they're willing to work and partner with our on-site campus in the city of Indio. So
We're always open to partnering, so if you let me know how I can get
I think what
engaged
we
with.
need to do is kind of help design it so we can, since when we're having those 2-on-2s, that we can say, hey, our HR is looking for this for our department. If you think there's something we can be of help, again, every angle we can work on. Anyways, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
Yeah, if I could, Madam
Yeah.
quick. Andrew, thank you for the presentation and all the hard work you and your staff are doing. So I always notice it's always planning, it's always engineering, it's always seemed to be the difficult one, and public safety, obviously, because it's a long haul, and you got a lot of police officers, and we had that period of time when police officers or public safety as a whole wasn't being respected, which kind of threw us behind a little bit. But how do you get the engineers and the planners, and what always happens is that somebody else comes and gobbles them up because we just keep fighting them because they get a raise, they get up to the next level. How do we work with either our local students, because we have that relationship. We have 3 high schools here. We got a college, we got law college. How do we get planning and in the other opportunities that we're looking at, like engineering, to be more focused on here? I mean, I don't want to take away anything from our other staff that's already here, because you don't want to give somebody that. But shouldn't we be growing them somehow, like Cal Poly or something, and helping pay for the school? Isn't there a way to be able to do that? Because if not, what happens is we train them, and then they get a next bump up at the only way they can get a raise is go to, I'll just use the city of Coachella, because they get the next step up, which we can't just give them here, because that's not how public service works. You know, it goes through steps, and that you just, because somebody gets up, you just can't raise them because they're gonna leave, so they go somewhere else. But it seems like we just keep rotating these people back and forth. We even have some people that come back. How do we get them to come and stay? Because those are good paying jobs. Engineering, planning's our lifeline for continuing the city, is because the planners are the ones we have to do, and they're way understaffed. And then engineering's a well-paying job, no matter what it is. I know the private sector pays a little bit better, but the public sector, with the retirement, with the guaranteed work, you know, there isn't no really up and down. There is a little bit, but we don't let those go. How do we get there?
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
Well, with the engineers, we did strike gold in the last 24 months. By implementing this internship, this really strategic, concentrated internship program, we were able to get 2 interns in the engineering area. Subsequently, they got hired. They're 2 of the 5. So we hired 2 junior engineers from our internship program. Planners, I think your point's well taken. We could consider doing some strategic educational incentives to build our own planners. We could do that. I've seen organizations do that.
I mean, they obviously need help. I mean, everybody does that, but you know, with planning, bringing in more development then brings in more money, which then we can bring into the other communities. That finance will need more help. You know, the city attorney, all the other public safety. It really is the lifeline of bringing in economic development. Is what brings in the jobs, what brings in the money. When they're staffed and they're down behind, that it slows everything down. As hard as they work, they only have so many hours in a day. And when there's 5 of them or 6 of them, they got 48 hours to be able to work. And I know they work more than that, but it really is the lifeline of bringing in new jobs that then brings in revenue for the rest of the organization to grow. So I think there's a couple strategic moves. And public safety, everybody believes in that, you know, safe, clean cities, you know, what you definitely need. But we definitely need to get planning and engineering somewhere on board where we can get those people to come and stay. That's it, Madam Mayor, sorry.
Thank you. I actually liked the information that was on this presentation. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're doing a lot with intern programs, working with the colleges and whatnot. But when you see some of the, and I just took a couple of shots so that I could reference some of the changes are significant based on where we've been in years past. So thank you, everyone, for the amazing effort and the leadership here at the City of Indio, because it's become a really cool place to work. And we want to keep that momentum going. Okay, yes.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say it looks like we're going in the right direction, right? The numbers show that we're making those improvements there. But going back to Mr. Miller's comments there, in this next budget session, I would like to see some recommendations on, those training programs. What is it that we can fund for you guys so that we can build those planners, whether it's from within or in recruitment, but offering some kind of training programs, incentives like that so that we can start getting those positions filled.
And we have college right down the street, right? Yeah, definitely, for sure. Thank you. Great comments. Thank you so very much. I don't think that requires any action. Let me go back. Or does it? Is that like a receive and file? I can't get mine going here. Just a receive and file, okay. Councilmember Miller, you had a comment or a request regarding an earlier,
Yeah, we discussed the general plan and make an amendment to it. How do we go about doing it? You said it was a second vote. I would like to have the wording so it takes out, disencourages.
I emailed you some draft language.
Okay. I didn't see it.
I can read it out loud if you'd like. Sure. And if the council wanted to direct staff, we'd have to go through the planning commission first for their take and then bring it back forward to the council. The language that I drafted here on the fly, and I did not run by the community development director, so he can poke me if I'm getting it wrong. Land use -7.8 gated communities. What I'm suggesting is allow the construction of new gated communities while encouraging design that supports complete neighborhood objectives and compatibility with surrounding areas, including frequent pedestrian and bicycle connections between the gated community and surrounding areas. Gates, walls, and entry features should be designed to minimize barriers to circulation, access to key destinations, and integration with adjacent neighborhoods. So that language takes out the discouraging. It doesn't encourage or discourage, it simply allows it, while integrating that goal into the overall framework of policy number 7, which is this connected Indio.
Brian?
Well, that was pretty good on the fly, I must admit. I like it. I think it could work, and we can, bring it back to the Planning Commission, and actually have a Planning Commission meeting next week. And during my report, staff items, I will bring up this particular general plan policy that it's proposed to be amended and get the wording from our attorney. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion.
yeah, absolutely. Do I hear a second? Second. And let's go ahead and vote. Council member?
To take action, but we'll bring it
We'll
back.
just do this, so it's a consensus.
Goes to the
right?
planning
We're putting
commission.
this on a future
Right,
agenda
on a
item, so
future,
if
right.
you all
Thank you.
nod, we can do that.
Yeah, no,
I
that's cool.
rescind what I just said.
Okay, all right. If there aren't any other comments, I'm going to go to the request to speak. And I'm going to start with Daniel Watson, if you'd like to come on up.
Thank you for the invite, Mayor. My name is Daniel Watson. This is my good friend Don Duran. Mayor, got a little taste of a program we have here. It started in the Coachella Valley, started in Indio in December of 2013. It's called Kelsey's Heroes. It's a special needs sports program for children of the desert with special needs, autism, cerebral palsy, and then everything in between. The program has really grown. It started its roots in Indio. We play the bulk of our sports in Indio. We're currently involved in a baseball program, bowling, swimming, basketball as well. The mayor got to come out, throw the first pitch at one of our actually catch the first pitch.
Catch it, yeah, and I caught it, yes.
Did catch it
I did catch
at
it.
our opening ceremonies this year. I've never been here. I wanted to get in front of the city council. I do have some literature I want to drop off for the mayor, and with her approval, I'd like to be able to get it to the whole city council. I could spend an hour trying to how the program started and where it's been and where it's going. I am inviting you all out. We are involved with the Padres, the Dodgers. Dodgers had the All-Star game a couple years ago. They invited our kids out to the All-Stars. We've had our kids throw first pitches out at Dodger-Padre games at Petco Park. We're involved with the Palm Springs Power. We're even involved with Golden Voice, which is a huge money system here for the community. I encourage you, and if you can, find some time the weekend before Coachella Fest, which is this weekend, every Friday, the weekend before, for the last 8 years, 9 years? 9 years, all the executives and managers from Golden Voice come out and play a baseball game with our special needs kids at Davis Field on the main field. It is an amazing event. Every year they play, they videotape, they put together a montage with music, and it's on the front of my webpage every year. It's amazing to see the fun. It's a chance for you to come out and see this program, and you will be deeply touched by these children. Most of these kids have sat and watched brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody play ball and do things, and they've sat in the background. This program is about them and for them.
Very nice. And what time does the game start?
They'll be, Golden Voice will be there about 7. We'll mingle and talk and probably start playing about 7:30. I know you know a lot of those guys. It's a different environment. It's a fun environment. There's other things that we do too, and I'll get those out to the mayor. I even asked her about having maybe we play every Friday night, maybe having a Indio, City of Indio, or the Chamber night, or invite the police and come out and play a little game with those kids as well. So
Awesome.
I'm open to whatever comes.
Thank
and I'd
you.
like to give you can I drop this off? For
And
you?
actually, you would give it to the city clerk, and then she will get it to us.
Yeah. Do I have a couple more seconds?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And the program's grown so much that we actually have different age groups, different abilities. We have little kids from their 3, 4, 5, 6. We have our teenagers, and we even have an adult league as well.
Nice.
With adults. And actually, since I know I'm already over in time, we've helped start about 14 other of these programs throughout Southern California as well, myself and Don. And we get together twice a year, beginning of May and end of May, and we have them all together, and we do we call Jamboree, and then the second one is a World Series, and these kids play each other 2 games. They all win the World Series ring, World Series banners, and it's an amazing event, amazing time.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Look forward to the information. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next request to speak. Dick, if I'm saying this right, Mahant?
Yes.
Mayor, City Council members, professionals, good evening. My name is Dick Mahoney, and I live in Trilogy Polo Club, largely 55-plus senior community. I want to say a few words about some of the out-of-control activities that are happening from the Los Palos end of short-term rental. I know you've heard about them, but lately. For example, recent events which occurred last week during spring break. Before I say anything else, per terms of a lawsuit settlement agreement that I have with a property owner there, my following comments are not related to his property. I live immediately adjacent to the private gates for that neighborhood. I purchased my home in 2015 when the neighborhood was mainly residential and equestrian ranches. The property direct bordering my backyard was a beautiful equestrian ranch, and we loved hearing the horses. We thought we had found paradise in Indio. Over the years, several of the equestrian properties were sold and converted to full-time year-round short-term rental properties. Last week, the property directly behind me held large, unruly, chaotic spring break parties from Sunday through Wednesday without permits, some into the wee hours of the morning. On Sunday, a group of 6 people arrived in the afternoon and didn't have the gate code. They loitered in my side yard. One person urinated in my yard in broad daylight. Many times we hear the noise and partying inside our home with our doors and windows closed. Often not even possible to enjoy our patio. I resort to wearing noise-canceling earphones just to sleep. On Monday, between midnight and 4 a.m., I counted 140 young people, as seen on my security camera. They came from the property directly behind my home and were congregating alongside my home, waiting to catch a rideshare. Tuesday was nearly as bad and the security camera captured 2 more people urinating in my yard. 3 IPD units arrived before midnight, but nothing changed and the partiers continued until nearly 3 a.m. In the aftermath, we had at least a dozen alcoholic beverage containers thrown in my yard, and even worse, several glass bottles were smashed on landscape boulders in the road. I now have glass shards mixed in my landscape gravel. Why was the chaos not shut down but allowed to continue? My wife and I are very concerned about our safety. We can't peacefully enjoy our retirement. Although we are glad that the festivals bring excitement and revenue to Indio, we fear what may occur in our neighborhood during the upcoming festivals. This year-round activity has become very disruptive and has negatively impacted the quality values, property values of our home and community. STR transient occupancy taxes are significant to our city, and we're fortunate to have them. However, when residents are subjected to the noise, chaos, property damage, safety concerns, that's simply not acceptable. Every weekend, my anxiety increases, wondering what will happen next weekend. I know you've heard suggestions from some of my neighbors on possible improvements to better accommodate STR activities. I ask you to please be more aware of these events and do the right thing, to do something to help restore our quality of life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. April Saunders.
Council members, I want to add that these parties were underage kids. They were drinking, they were throwing cans, bottles all over the neighborhood. The police came and did not shut this down. And I would like to know, and so would my neighbors, why was this party not shut down? It's 11:30 at night. These kids were out past curfew. A lot of them were underage. When the police did show up, they started throwing full beers and bottles over because they didn't want to get caught jumping the fence. So I'm just asking you to please enforce your own code. There was no TUP. There was over 100 people each night. Please enforce your own codes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Richard Zizian.
First of all, I'd like to thank the police department. We had a medical emergency in the ZLP area just the other day. And if I ever need a medical emergency, I want that crew there. They were there, they were on it, and very impressive. The problem we had is they couldn't get in the gate. And there's a lot of confusion, not only on the Trilogy gate, but also on the ZLP gate. We were informed that the police officers had knockbox access. Chief told me tonight that they don't, only the fire department has that. We were told that they have optical scanners on the headlights, but not all vehicles have that, not all gates have it. So it seems to me when I just happened to be standing there in my driveway when the units arrived, and there were 4 or 5 police officers asking me if I knew the code. And he had a life and death emergency situation on that one. And, 2.5 minutes, which Mr. Mahaney was able to record. There was a lot of mass confusion, and it was kind of scary. The solution is simple. Call Albert Management and get the police department and all public safety agencies a secret code. It never changes. We change those codes so often because of all the rentals and everything. All you need is your code. It will never change, and you can get in instantly, and everybody should have it on their dashboard or whatever, but that will solve the problem instantly. So you don't have to rely on technology. Just remember, the city of Indio has one master code to get in any of our gates. The other thing is that I wrote all of you a letter a few weeks ago, and the subject is when we're confused about enforcement. If you look at what happened, which April and Dick just mentioned happened, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, over 100 people, young people drinking. It's not about the finite things we deal about, the code and the STRs and the TUPs. This is just blatant disregard for anything. And it's almost like Monopoly. We would like a situation where you don't pass go, you go directly to jail. This unit has an STR. But how can they have an STR? There are certain, I said, let me give you a situation, all 4, where there is a situation where that permit should be revoked. Because 3 nights in a row, give them a warning, what does that do? Fine them, you get the money, we residents still have to live with that. So does the police chief have the authority to shut something down? It's almost like an illegal assembly, which was, they were underage. Some of them looked like even junior high. When the police cars came, I happened to be, I saw them jumping over the wall to avoid the police. So there's scattering to our neighborhood, and there's got to be a way to stop that. And we as residents, we don't know what the enforcement policy is. We know it goes from warning to citation to revocation. But the question is, are you really enforcing it? We don't know that. And we would like to see statistics published. How many warnings did you give this month? How many citations? How many revocations? We have no idea. We know you're trying to do your best, but we have no way of proving that enforcement is actually taking place or what authority the police chief has to shut it down. And I must also compliment Chief Tully. He's tremendous to work with. You send him an email, he responds. So we're having a great communication relationship with him, and it's excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Zizian, is city attorney, any comment required?
I don't think so, other than we're obviously aware
At it,
of the
right.
situations going on. We've been having significant conversations between the police department and my office to address the issues that are occurring there.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate that. Okay, did you have a comment? I wasn't sure. Just, don't move. All right. Well, that being said, it is 7:31, and in honor of Marcos Lopez, this meeting is adjourned.